Finally, it's about time I get to talk about an anime that I actually enjoyed for once. Hello, it's me once again, and it's time for me to talk about Medalist. Yep, Medalist, you heard that right. This is not an anime series to come out from the spring season. It's actually an anime that came out back in the winter 2025 season, as you can see here. The same season that gave us Sakamoto Days, Apothecary Diaries, Soul Level Season 2, you know the gist, you know the bit. But what's interesting about Medalist and why I want to talk about this show, this is a show that obviously is getting so much praise right now because of the fact that it's possibly going to go down as one of those underrated anime series of the 2025, and I'm going to explain why. So, Medalist, a brand new anime from back in winter 2025. I finally got the chance to watch it after pushing the show back so many freaking times, and it's by ENGI Studios. This is a studio that was pretty infamous for a couple of shows, but the most infamous show that they're known for is Uzaki-chan wa Sobutai, a show that I just talked about not too long ago that just turned 5 years old this year. And to sum up Uzaki-chan, this was a show that was super polarizing upon its release, and essentially got a lot of people hating the show, and it was received a lot of backlash. But it was unfortunately overshadowed by a really talented, really great animation studio that had a lot of potential. So, given that this is the same studio that gave us ENG, followed by some other infamous and trashy animes that I remember watching them back in the day from Tatsumo Shinru, the Mob Isekai, even this forgettable slice of life anime that I don't really care about. I went into Melis with pretty high expectations because this was getting a lot of rave reviews right upon its release. And I had to push the show back many times because I couldn't figure out how to stream this show. I couldn't figure out how to watch it. I was scratching my head for a long time. But once the show finally concluded, I figured out a way and I finally got the chance to sit down and relax and finally give the show a shot. Now, granted, Melis is essentially an ice skating sports anime show, a bit of a come up show, you could say. And immediately when you watch the show, you're gonna get reminiscent moments of where the show and the premise and the dialogue and essentially like how the story progresses is really reminiscent of like Yuri on Ice, maybe Haikyuu esque, or even like the Blue Lock esque with its animation and its choreography. We're talking about the first season of Blue Lock, by the way, not excluding the shitty season two, but you get the gist. Medalist has those elements that makes a really good sports anime in the modern day amazing. And it's such a shame that the show is not getting a lot of attention that it deserves because this show, honestly, should be in the top five for most highly anticipated anime to watch of the winter 2025 season when it came out. Because if you want to know where Melis is settling right now, look no further to right there is at the freaking bomb, the bomb tier where all the mid to like forgettable animes are there. And obviously, Melis is not the only one. We also have Blue Exorcist that also was popping off last that season as well. So the fact that Melis was so at the very bottom of that list and it's got this great reviews makes me wonder, could this be the most underrated anime of the year? And I think I'm just gonna get into what the story is all about before I can answer that question. So this is a feel good come up kind of story where it takes place in where we have two stories being told. One story being told about Inori Yuritsuka, who is the main character of the show, who loves skating, who loves figure skating so much. However, she greatly lacks academic skills. She greatly lacks the fundamentals of ice skating, she is but she does become a different person when she ice skates, and she does everything she can to be an ice skater. But at the same time, struggling and dealing with um, a lot of the negative doubts in her mind and a lot of the negative reactions to people telling her like, no, we shouldn't push you to ice skating. You're too old. You should have done it when you're 5 years old. You're in fifth grade now. This is too late. This is incomplete. And this is like a really good come up story where we see Inori San's character blossom from that nervous, not feeling good, like unconfident person and become the person that she is in the final episode. And then we also have Sukasa, who is essentially the coach and another main character of the show, where this is a coach who was at one point, just like Inori-san, who wanted to chase his dream of being an ice skater. And unfortunately, he never got the chance to become a professional ice skater later down in his life, to where he was told throughout his life as he was growing up, as he was practicing, that no, you're too old. Why are you doing this? Doing this that's mainly not already too late at this point. You're already in middle school. Quit the job. Quit ice skating. And in Sukasa's name, he decided, no, what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to continue ice skating all the way to my adult years. And he did do a pretty interesting and really cool competition where he got his name well known for himself. And throughout this journey, we see Sukasa and Inori seeing each other and their flaws within each other in every way, shape, or form. And I think the show does it so, so beautifully. Again, within these 13 episodes, you have moments where Inori, Inori, our main character, is full of lacking of confidence, is really scared of what's to come, that she has to resort to pulling worms or making sure that she has to coach Sukasa to just calm her down. There are moments where even like some of the outside characters, which I'll get into, where the coach himself is always being told like, okay, no, you can't do this. Training Nori, no, she's done. She's kaput. You're not gonna get her to succeed. And Sukasa's like, nope, I'm gonna train her. I'm gonna do what I can because I see a lot of what I could have been in her. And the show does it and displays it so beautifully. I mean, the music, the scores of this show is so so amazing. It's probably one of the best music you're gonna ever hear this year so far of 2025. The animation for the show is absolutely amazing. It is phenomenal. And this show even does what I possibly think is one of the craziest, like, holy crap moments in animation, where they decided to incorporate 3D CGI with its ice skating dance performance. And I think they did it so, so well. And granted, the moment I say 3D CGI, they're like, oh, okay, this is not a good anime. I'm gonna go away. No, they incorporate this so well, so perfectly, and it's not overused. It's used in a lot of pivotal ice skating moments to showcase what these characters can do, what their ice skating prowess is, and what they are known for. So, with that being said, there are a ton of characters in the show that are, at one point, you either love them, hate them, or you feel somewhere in between, to where at the end of the show, you absolutely sympathize with each character. You understand what their intentions are. Not every character, of course, which I'll get into, but I'll definitely point out some major highlights of characters that I did like that was surrounding this. For starters, let's talk about Emma. Emma Yamato, amazing freaking character, a really great background story to like why she started ice skating and how her growth spurt affected her performance as a result, as she was going through a huge growth spurt during this time period. There's also a standout with Mikitaro, who is at one point the one character that we all thought we were gonna hate, and this is a character that honestly I think you would all dislike at one point or another. But she stands out as like the best, as the eventual best friend to Nori-san, and it's so freaking wholesome and a huge turning point. But without doubt, the biggest standout of one of the characters is Rio, a character who was part of a who is from a bloodline of silver medalists from a silver medalist ice skaters, and he starts as someone who's super conservative, who's like, "No, I got this. I already know what I'm gonna do. You can't tell me what to do. I have my plan set." But it turns out that we finally get to know much about this character as to why he acts the way he is, where he's so persistent and so self-preserving to himself about how he just wants to do what he does, when in reality all he needed was someone to just praise him and tell him that and guide him to what he needed to do to get to the next level. And that's where it all leads to. A lot of these characters in the show, they fit the role where their main goal is to progress further and further to the ice skating world. So they eventually go into being ice skating medalists or ice skating performers themselves as a long term career or a long term dream path, you could say. And each of these episodes that pass through really encapsulates like the trials and tribulations that Inori and Tsukasa goes through when it comes to training, when it comes to performing that next axle spin, performing that next skate spin. It's super super well done. And we do have like interestingly enough, a main villain of the show that actually plays a role into progressing the Melis anime to the next stage, and that is with um, Hikaru Kamisaki, who again at one point you would say that she is, I think she is the main villain of the show, like look wise and everything, considering that she is like the top of the league, and that Normia promised that I'm gonna catch up to you and compete against you in the same level. And then we have one of the main coaches, Jun Yodaka, who is a gold medalist, who at one point Tsukasa really looked up to, inspired to be. And when he finally met Jun as a person, he sees that he is like the most like lifeless, soul sucking, like piece of shit person that he just wants to be, and prove that you can be a really great ice skater to be an Olympic gold medalist. And throughout this journey, we see that their motivations between the two main characters really takes a fever pitch high when it comes to the final moments of the show, especially when it takes everything that has happened throughout the whole series in the final 13th episode, and gives us like a beautiful presentation of what Inori has been through, what Tsukasa is going through, and Inori is essentially just saying goodbye to her past self in the most beautiful and elegant dancing I've seen in a while for a sports anime. And keep in mind, I'm not really a huge ice skating sports fan myself. I've really never gone to the genre, but this one might be the catalyst to me where I might even go back to watching some pretty big ice skating animes like Yuri on Ice, for example, which I've heard many, many times about. But Medalist is a amazing show, but is unfortunately not shy of some flaws. One of the major flaws of Medalist that I feel like that I do have, which I feel like are minor to like meh complaints, is the fact that for one, the animation is not perfect. Now, what I mean by now, even though I did say the animation was perfect and is amazing, what I mean by that is that sometimes the animation, when it comes to its humorous to serious moments, doesn't hit all too well. It unfortunately kind of falls to the same realm of like past ENGI Studio anime when it comes to like fun to serious moment type of things, where the animation just falls in quality. Another thing that I also criticize about the show is that you do have not just the two coaches here with Sukasa and Junior Daka. There are multiple coaches in the show that do pop up in this Medalist anime that I just wish get a lot more flesh time. I just wish that we got a little bit more detail from them, because we only got like snippets and pieces of like what they are, who they are, and how they're connected to Sukasa to a degree. And I just wish they kind of dive more into it. Also, undoubtedly, this is also pretty reminiscent of Junior Daka and Hikaru. It would have been nice to get to know like their backstories to like why Hikaru pushed herself to be the best, most perfected Olympic skater that she wants to be, and why June is the way he is. Why he just gives that really threatening look every time we see him on screen. And excuse me. And I guess finally, if I had to throw in another criticism that isn't really a criticism for me, but it could be something for everyone else who goes into this anime completely blind, I feel like this could be a show that a lot of people, when they go into this anime, they're gonna be like, "Oh, yay, another ice skating anime. Okay, we've seen this many, many times before." Again, yes, it is something that's been already dived and talked about many, many times from other successful sports animes, but I highly, highly encourage to give this one a shot,
Mm.
because this show is something special. I think that once again, this is undoubtedly the most underrated anime of the year, and the fact that this show was so under the radar when it came out back in the winter season of this year, and it's by the same studio that once again gave us these shows that were infamous for its time period of 5 years at the time. It's nuts. It's so nuts that I'm really impressed by the evolution of the studio, and I think if ENGI Studios continues this momentum, they're gonna go much much higher from here. I mean, I do have good news, at least, that we do have a sequel of Medalist season 2 coming up, and it's a show that I'm 100% planning to keep my eyes out when it eventually comes out. So overall, this was an amazing standout of a show, and really probably one of the best ice skating animes I've seen in a while. Probably one of the best slice of animes to come out this year in general. This show really blew me away. not just from an animation standpoint, but emotionally. This show tugs on your heartstrings so much to where you just feel the characters and feel the emotions, and you just understand like everything that Inori-san goes through as a kid. You could honestly relate to how she goes through that every single day growing up as a kid. And what Tsukasa goes through as an adult now, given what he's been through, you can relate to that too, where it's like, man, it's so good. It's absolutely amazing. I want to gush over Granny's over this much, much longer, but this is really good. Um, with that being said, I would give this a strong eight. Strong eight. It's so so good. I think there's not much more I can say about it. It's just I'm impressed with this show. I really am, and this show needs a lot more attention because right now in the current field of meh to whatever, the only shows that are like standouts for best anime of the year right now is Soul Loving season two, Apothecary Diary season two, and now I can comfortably say Medalist is up there as one of the best animes of the year. So yeah, just want to talk about this, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next anime review. Later.